short prayer. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you Atul, Josna ji for initiating this, and Ananta for initiating this discussion, conversation, because conversation is one of the ways to clarify a matter, make it more important. It's called as trends. Google, if you see what's people talking most about, and people talk most about that which is important to them. And if parenting is important, then we can't just say, I know how to do it. As they say, usually the first child we raise as like an experiment. And with the second child, you know where all the experiment didn't work. And they also say that, no, I knew how to do parenting till I became a parent. So it's a little ironic for me to speak because I'm not a parent. And sometimes when I look at how much patience parents need to have, then I thank myself for not being a parent. So, but the space from where I come to be justified for me to speak is not that everything we learn from experience. It's said that there are 3 levels of learning. The first level of learning is you experience, you hear and you learn. You don't have to know what's the taste of poison. You learn, you know that it's poison, it's dangerous, and then you abstain from it. Second is you see someone else do that mistake, do it. You see others and you learn. And third is you experience yourself and you learn. Therefore, it said experience is a great teacher. But often our experience may not help others, because the situation in which we have gone through, no one else goes through the same kind of situation. There is not one person in this world that is in the exact same situation as ours. Therefore, Gaur often says that the exam paper that we get is not the same as what someone else gets. So, there is a consorted wisdom, consolidated wisdom, which we call the Bhagavatam. This Bhagavatam is the wisdom of all the Vedas put together, Nigama Kalpataror Galitam. And it just doesn't speak about liberation, but it also speaks about how do we conduct in our lives. So therefore, from the experience point of view, I am disqualified. But from the scriptural point of view, I can say some learning, some hearing, and some second-hand learning. All of them. I've seen Atul's kids, I've seen Prashanti's kids, I've seen Nisha's kids, I've seen Srilata's kids. So that's second-hand learning. And Krishna also comes as a small little child. We just had Ram Lalla, and Krishna being the darling son of Mother Yashoda. But this perspective that we are taking today is not directly from Krishna Lila, because even from Krishna Lila, there are many lessons about different aspects, even including parenting, that we can gather. But I want to take a beautiful story that comes in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. So this is 18,000 shlokas, the Bhagavatam, and of which there are 12 cantos, so this is like almost the 1/3 portion where this beautiful story of Dhruva comes. And Mother Yashoda loves Krishna, and Mother Yashoda also corrects Krishna. There is story of how she makes butter for him, works hard. There is also story of Damodar Lila, where if there is a need for the betterment of the child, it is also corrected. And in both these contexts, both these situations, there is one very foundational principle which I wanted to portray through a small video that is made not in India, mostly in South Korea. You might have seen this video before, but let's watch this video. personal connection, whether it be love or whether it be correcting, for growth, for someone to feel connected, that personal connection is what is important. And today in the digital age, that's what is the most challenging thing, that we are distancing ourselves from being personal in our relationships. When we are with people, we take up mobiles and we try to talk to someone else who is not here. And one of the, like this child you saw, the child has only vision, especially a small child, which is only like 20 centimeters of distance. He can't see the world beyond 20 centimeters. So unless you touch the child doesn't connect to that reality that there is someone who is taking care. And of course we also show this as how we need the direct connection with Krishna, personal connection. And that's why it's not about how much we do, but it's about how we do for the parent, as a parents, for our children. And they can sense that. They can sense, is it personal? Is it for me? There was a story, real stories. One of our senior members, Rishikesh Mafatlal, owner of Mafatlal Industries, his family was complaining to him, you don't spend time with us. And then they kind of went to our spiritual master Radhana Swami. And the husband was called Rishikesh Mafatlal, and wife's name is Rekha Mafatlal. Atul is good friends with his son Priyavrat. So he was asked, why are you not spending time with them? He said, I go to the temple with them. I go, I eat with them. I'm doing a lot of things with them. We go to yatra together with them. So husband, wife are together. So then he added a question. You are spending time with them, but are you spending time for them? There is a difference between spending time with the children and spending time for the children. There is a difference between spending time with the wife and spending time for the wife. There is a difference between spending time with Krishna and spending time for Krishna. Sometimes you are chanting. Yes, you are with Krishna, but you are not chanting for Krishna. Your mind is somewhere else. Then you don't feel any positivity out of it. So here he was with the child, but so therefore there is a difference. You can always ask. If you don't, and sometimes this happens the other way also. The husband or the wife, says, I'm doing everything for them. For them is there. You're working for them, you're cooking for them, but you're not spending time with them. So then also there is a disconnect. Right? You're spending everything, like whatever Srikanth is doing, whatever Atul is doing, whatever anyone is doing is for our family. But there has to be that with factor. But sometimes even within the with factor, if there is no for factor, so there has to be a balance of these two. So the focus of the duty of a parent is highly praised in the scriptures. It says the three most important people for a person in one's life: his mother, his father, and his teacher, Guru. And out of which Manu Samhita says, mother is 10 times more important than the father. And the father is 10 times more important than the Guru. It doesn't mean that we are undermining Guru, we are undermining teacher, father, but the position of a mother is mentioned. And whether it be mother or father, there is a verse in the 5th canto that says the main duty of a parent, the most essential duty is that you raise them in such a way that they no longer have to take one more birth in a artificial atmosphere of the material world, that they actually perfect their life and go back to Krishna, go back to the spiritual realm. So for parenting, we have to give them roots, they have to have strong roots, that roots of affection, and we have to give them wings. So parenting का दो duties है, to give them roots, that they are emotionally strong because of the love that we have invested in them, and they have the wings to make their own choices, to become responsible. I put it the other way also, to make them comfortable and to make them responsible. If you make them good, give them good roots, but never give them the wings, they are always dependent on you, that's also a wrong kind of parenting. So this story of Dhruva comes in the 4th canto. His father is Uttanapad, and Uttanapad has 2 wives, which is not in today's context, not a reality, especially if you are in Hinduism. But in those times, especially like Kshatriyas, they had multiple wives. And psychologists have analyzed that there are 4 types of styles in parenting. 4 styles in which tendencies, styles in which all of us, even as a preacher, leader, even I go through those styles. And in this story, we see that all those styles in action. And this is one of the powerful ways in which scriptures teach us values, teach us lessons, and how to do, how not to do. That's why Ramayana, Bhagavad, Mahabharata. If we just if the children just start to learn these stories, initially it is about stories, but later they also get the lessons. That's why I put the books here. And in this story, for those of you who are not aware of the story of Dhruva, we have in this story of Dhruva, Uttanapa, the father, has 2 wives. One's name is Suniti, another name is Suruchi. So the one you see here is the second wife, called as Suruchi. Suruchi has one son who is on the lap of his father, and Suniti, the elder one, has another son who is trying to get onto the lap of his father. And it's common that children, they want what someone else has. It's almost like the behavior of the monkeys. If the monkeys, one monkey goes and sits on one tree, all the monkeys will want to go and sit on that tree. And if one monkey leaves that tree and goes and does something else, all the other monkeys, they want to do that. Sometimes children are like that. Of course, I am not saying we came from the monkeys. But if one child has a plastic watch, then every child will want to have that. If one child has a phone, smartphone, then every child will want to have that. So he saw that his brother is sitting on the lap of his father. So then he wanted to go and sit. Immediately his mother, stepmother, she stopped him. Who do you think you are that you can sit on your father's lap? You are not qualified. And she chastises him. And small 5-year-old child, Dhruva, he just doesn't understand how he is disqualified from sitting on the lap of his own father. And children, they just don't like unjust behavior. If they perceive injustice, then they become the angriest. उसके साथ ऐसा किया, लेकिन मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों किया? They hate injustice. They may not understand the full context, but if they perceive injustice, they become the most angriest or rebellious. So here Dhruva perceived this injustice and he goes to his mother crying. So, a simple story, not something that is out of the context. But from this story, we can see in the behavior that each of them have exhibited different styles of parenting, and we'll take them. The first one between Uttanapad and Dhruva. Dhruva wanted to sit on his lap, father's lap, but the father was too fearful of the wife, that the wife doesn't want, and if he lets him sit, then he will be in trouble. So he is just oblivious, he is mute, कुछ नहीं बोल रहा है. माँ उधर डांट रही है बच्चे को नहीं बैठने का, और पिताजी चुपचाप देख रहे हैं. And this is called as neglectful parenting. And neglectful parenting is where you just let the child grow on his own. You don't bother with him too much. He sometimes even to the extent of physical deprivation, मतलब उसको भूख लगेगा तो वो खुद आ जाएगा, मैं नहीं पीछे पड़ने वाला उसका. And we kind of go into this mode of course, not a recommended, highly discouraged way of parenting. But are there instances where you just kind of go into this zone because you just don't have energy? तो कुछ वो करने को मेरे को सताओ. It's called as neglectful parenting. And one of the reasons why neglect can come is if the child is not the way we want him to be, or if the child was born although we didn't want the child. I had a student when I was doing my masters in Chicago, Pakistani Muslim. His father used to constantly, beat him up or tell him, "We didn't want you. You were born by accident. We tried to abort you, but somehow it didn't work, therefore you are here." So if a child perceives that you are not wanted and you are neglected because of that, and that was the same words that Suruchi spoke to Dhruva, that you are not actually wanted here, and therefore you get out. So one is physical deprivation, which I'm sure most of us don't do that. Another is emotional deprivation that happens, that you are taking care of his things, but how is he doing emotionally? We don't have the energy to spend. And in any kind of offenses towards the child, neglect is one of the worst that hits the child. That मुझे कोई देख नहीं रहा है, that nobody is bothered. And what this does to the child is, he starts to have a very low self-esteem, or even a doubt that am I even needed to be alive? And for the children, parents' words are much more seriously taken than we may mean. Sometimes we may not mean that, but whenever we say anything, for the children, it just is the commandment. Recently I was interacting with one child, and the child was not going to his grandmother's house for a long time. And then the father asked, why are you not going to your grandmother's house? Then the child said, you only told me not to go. So when did I say? You told. And then he remembered a context where it was exam time, it was school time. And he said, Jane ka nahi udhar. And for the child, it's like, they don't understand the context in which you are speaking or the thing. Because the father spoke this, don't go to, he didn't say never go, he said don't go. And because it was spoken in such a heavy language, the child, although loves grandparents, he just thought, nahi jana hai. Because he depends on that relationship, and if that relationship says something, then he tries to follow that. And so therefore many times we cause neglect even without our perception, because the children are more sensitive than what we are. So this is one type of parenting called as neglectful parenting style, one of the style tendencies. Second, that Uttanapad is doing with his second son, which is Uttam. This is equally bad, but doesn't look bad, is called as liberal parenting. One is neglectful parenting, another is liberal parenting. Pehle mein you don't even bother. In second, you allow whatever the child wants to do. That Papa mujhe ye chahiye, Mummy mujhe ye chahiye. Whatever they want, you are liberally doing. And this is also kind of neglectful parenting in the sense, because you are not involving. You are trying to be that so that they don't bother you. Just don't bother me, don't cry, I'll do whatever you want. So the child starts to become manipulative in this kind of parenting, because they know the mother will do whatever I like. And one of the, as per the Bhagavatam and as per the psychology, is that usually in a family, the mother is strict and the father is liberal, or the father is strict and the mother is liberal. Right? Usually. But if these two are poles apart. मतलब पापा इतना स्ट्रिक्ट है एंड मम्मी इज वेरी लिबरल. पहले के जमाने में ऐसा होता था, मदर यूज्ड टू बी वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट, फादर यूज्ड टू बी very strict, mother used to be compassionate. In today's generation, mothers are strict, fathers are liberal. Most I have seen, most places I have seen. And then the tendency is that the children say, I like father and I don't like mother so much. Raise your hands if you have experienced this. So what this is doing, one father's or one spouse, one person's liberal parenting is distancing the child from the other relationship. So it's actually, as per psychology, this kind of polarity in the parent's behavior. एक ऐसा बोलता है, एक उसका opposite behavior है. It causes for the child to become extremely manipulative. कि उसको पता है काम कराना है तो कैसे कराना है. The first thing that the child needs to do, that they are together, but so therefore in the original context, if the father says something, the mother doesn't used to oppose. The same time she used to give comfort to the child. But nowadays it happens that although mother says no, father neglects mother's word and still does that for the child. And when that neglectful parenting you're not neglecting the child, but you're neglecting the other shelter that the child has. And then the child becomes manipulative, which is also not right for the growth of the child, because the child needs to have equal faith and shelter in both the father and the mother. Although the general therefore says दोनों रहेगा, थोड़ा एक soft रहेगा, एक hard रहेगा, but ensure that you both are together in whatever you are doing for the child. Mother is chastising, इसको मार्क्स कम आया, पिताजी आके बोलते हैं चलता है, why are you chastising him? So parents, and another way liberal parenting is seen as it's a way to buy love from the child. Why are you liberal? Because you are thinking that is the way I can buy the love from the child. And unconsciously you are competing with your other partner that I am better than you in trying to gain the heart. So there is a competition over who wins the child's heart, rather than seeing that the child's heart should be won by both mother and father. Are you with me till now?
Yes.
Is it going too heavy? Or are you relating to whatever I am saying? So, liberal parenting, therefore it said, subconsciously it's a neglectful, that just don't bother, or it's a way to buy love, that मुझसे मेरे से प्रेम करेगा ये अगर मैं उसका बात मानूंगा, rather than trying to make him understand that these things are good, that these things are not good. And it also causes this kind of manipulative behavior, and that same manipulative behavior that is that starts at the home goes into the school. Then he will manipulate the marks. He knows how to get things done. Then the third type of parenting is that which we see between Suruchi and Dhruva. Dhruva just was wanting something, and Suruchi just announced a rule to him that you cannot sit on the lap of your father because you are not born from me. which just didn't make sense to him, because I am also, मतलब आपसे पैदा नहीं होगा लेकिन मेरी माँ भी तो इनसे related है. This is called as authoritarian parenting. Just listen what I say. मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ करो, नहीं तो I'll shout. I will. Obviously nowadays we don't raise stick, pick up a stick. और हमको तो मिला, हमको तो बेल्ट भी मिला पिताजी से. Rarely. But authoritarian parenting, where you just make rules, do what I say, else, so you threaten the child. So you raise the child in fear. Although उसके भलाई के लिए है, you don't sit with him and try to converse with him, try to have a dialogue that whatever I am doing, why it is good, and with his agreement or with his understanding. May not be agreement, but his understanding. And when in authoritarian parenting, many times the child grows with low self-esteem because he thinks he's whatever he says is important, not what I feel is not important. मेरे को जो लग रहा है, that is not important. What mommy says, what papa says, that is what is important. And in fear, they obey. But the moment they start to become teenagers, you'll start to see that all that resistance is coming out. तभी जानबूझ के आपके अगेंस्ट जाएंगे. Lot of rebelliousness will come when you have done authoritarian parenting. And they'll tell all the times you force them to do what they didn't want to do. And why? Because of that, they hate. And as I said, because they grow up in fear, their growth is not proper, and they also are self-esteem. And sometimes this set of children, they study a lot. They'll do things nicely, and they're also successful just to prove to the father and mother that I have some value. Please value me. उसके लिए वो लोग struggle करेंगे, but they are still with low self-esteem. Then comes the fourth type of parenting, which is the best type of parenting. पहला दो तो what happened? Smoke. So fourth type of parenting, which happened between. So Dhruva was angry. He couldn't find any shelter with his father or with his stepmother. He runs to his mother and he explains how he has been neglected, how he has been ruled. Authority dikha diya. I am the mother and you have to just go out of here. She empathizes with Dhruva, but at the same time, she doesn't increase his guilt, his anger. The first thing she says, Suniti, is that don't be upset with your stepmother, because if you are angry at someone, if you try and don't ma amangalam, don't wish inauspiciousness for those who have done something bad for you. किसी ने आपके साथ गलत किया, उसके बारे में गलत मत सोचो, क्योंकि ये कर्मा का साइकिल चलता ही रहेगा. So, like a good mother, she advised him, first of all, don't think bad about her. Because if you think bad about her, it will be even more troublesome. And then she does agree, yes, your father has neglected me and she starts to explain him the situation in which they are in and how she is also helpless in this, but she obviously directs him to Krishna, who can solve this problem for us. And but the way she does this in psychology, it's called as consistent parenting, where you are consistent with the rules you establish. Sometimes we say one thing, nahi karne ka, the same. After a while, when our mood is different, say jaake usko maar ke aao, or go and do that and come. So when they see inconsistent signals, like you, that I'm sure all of you might have heard from your children. तुम बोलते हो लेकिन तुम ही नहीं करते हो. So when they see inconsistency, then that's why when Chanakya Pandit says, Lalayet Panchavarshana, for 5 years you should give lot of love to the child. Tadayet Dashavarshana, for the next 10 years, Tada means discipline. Discipline your child. And after that, you be a friend to him. So discipline is not one way. Disciplining the child means you yourself have to be disciplined. If you are not disciplined, you cannot discipline others. इसके लिए parenting is a great boon for self-discipline. Right? If you don't take up leadership, if you don't take up responsibility, you will never become disciplined. The more you take up responsibility, the more you become disciplined. Because अभी मेरे लिए तो नहीं, तो उसके लिए मेरे को जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ दूसरों के साथ अच्छा रहना चाहिए या सुबह उठना चाहिए, first I have to show him. Therefore, in consistent parenting, it is the mantra is not do what I say, but the mantra is do what I do. Sometimes, some parents come to the temple and they tell the child, प्रभुपाद को दंडवत करो, दंडवत करो. वो बस देखते रहते पिताजी को. But when he does दंडवत, बच्चे को बताने का जरूरत नहीं है. They also do. Because children don't do what you say, children do what you do. Because they are important. We are our role models. So therefore, if you are respecting your parents, if you are listening to your parents, then they will listen to you. उनके सामने तुम उनको नेग्लेक्ट कर रहे हैं तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स और उनको बोला तुम फॉलो करो, नहीं होगा. So do what you do. They do what you do. And therefore, worst thing for a child is confuse them with your own behavior or the behavior between mother and father. Mother does this way, father does this way. Even if they are different, to have a dialogue with the child that why they are behaving different. Or even if you are, say, tired, you don't have time to spend. You explain to the child that you don't have energy now. Then they will not see that as a neglect. Then they will see they need time. So therefore it's called as consistent parenting, where there are rules that are established but they are consistent, that you follow them and then they follow you. You tell them don't use mobile so much and you are constantly in mobile. Is it consistent? It's not. You are not showing the example that they want to see. So therefore they don't follow. They have to see in you what you want to see in them. So this is 4 types of parenting, and ultimately to understand that she directs Dhruva to Vishnu, to a guru who can actually elevate her. Therefore there is always a third parent that's needed for every child. For somebody who is neutral, somebody who is to reveal, because children won't reveal all the time everything to the parents. They'll always need a. That was usually the uh, combined family, a uncle, a grandmother, someone whom they had that faith and confidence. And nowadays, because of nuclear families, there's no third parent. The third parent can be as I said, a guru, like for Dhruva, or someone who has given them equal amount of time and love. So this is a chart. Of course, they name it differently in the world, in the psychology, called as permissive, what are called as liberal, they call it as neglectful. Then consistent is what they call as authoritative, but as per mine, it is consistent is more appropriate word than authoritative, and authoritative it is just parent driven. So any questions about 4 styles of parenting? Can you repeat for the first type? Neglectful. Who was the example that I said?
Father and the son.
Father and the son. Uttanapada and Dhruva. Second style of parenting? Liberal parenting. Example?
Uttam and Dhruva.
Father and the second son. Uttanapada and Uttam. Because that was the way for him to buy his wife's love, by being liberal to this child. Third is authoritative parenting. Example is mother and son, stepmother and son, Suruchi and Dhruva. Fourth is consistent parenting, Suniti and Dhruva. So any questions or any inputs from all the experienced players? माँ आपको कुछ बोलना है?
मैं ठीक हूँ।
आप ठीक है? आपने अतुल को इतना अच्छा बड़ा किया है वैल्यूज के साथ. So whenever we have next, I want to take mobile addiction. But it starts with consistent parenting. If you want your child to not be on gadgets, then they have to see that you are with books, you are with people, then they will be with. Or you explain them, you have a dialogue when you are, and they need to see that you are consistent. As one of our devotees says, if you are like Hiranyakashipu, you can't expect your son to be like Prahlad. It's a rare situation. If you are Hiranyakashipu, your child will be like that. Okay, we'll stop.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yes, probably sometimes what happens, they behave in a different way. Sometimes you have to be liberal parenting, and depending upon the situation, sometimes I have to be consistent. So I can't, all the time I can't be liberal, and all the time I can't be consistent. So it's like consistent means what? You have to be all the way neutral. Like you do means you understand, make them understand. They won't understand. After telling them so many times, they don't understand. They just neglect. They want what to do in that situation. Like I'm like forced to give that liberty.
So they say that you can't just go by consistent parenting, because therefore there are some authoritative parenting is needed. You have to have, sometimes you have to put your foot down and make the child clear that this is a rule. So that, of course, the first two are highly discouraged for the growth of the child, but the next two, the third does play a role. Most of us grew up in a authoritative parenting, where the parents just set rules for us and we followed. But now that the generation is not that way, we have to balance it with consistent parenting. That we do set the rules, we emphasize, I'm a parent, I need to decide. Sometimes even, in Lord Ram, he did have a discussion with all the Vanaras, what should be done with Vibhishana. That was having a dialogue. But then he said, this is what I want to do. Because he had that authority. So even you might have seen when we do meetings with some seniors, they do have discussion, but there are occasions where they just say, this is what is to be done. So authoritative is suggested, but it has to be having that cushion of also having that avenue, open the avenue that if they want to have a dialogue, then you are open for the dialogue. Sometimes with our why they don't want to have dialogue, this is that they think, the parents, children think that my mother doesn't understand the situation or me. ये समझती नहीं है. Because many times we jump to conclusions or we undermine. Just like just few days back there was an incident. Ayan, Hare Krishna. So the child comes home saying that I am angry at some particular person. And the mother immediately speaks, you should not be angry, you should forgive. So the moment the child's feelings are not mirrored, they stop their conversation. Child wants to converse with those with whom they feel ये मुझे समझ रहा है, मैं गुस्सा हूँ और माँ मुझे मना नहीं कर रही है. And therefore the better conversation is, why are you angry, what made you feel angry? And then hear him out and then let them come to that actually it is not such an important thing that I need to get angry. So many times we kind of preach to the child and we don't allow their emotions to be valuated कि तुम्हारा emotion जो है गलत है. Maybe facts may be different. So when we undermine children's feelings, मैंने गलती नहीं किया, बोल रहा है बच्चा, but you constantly keep saying तुमने गलती किया, without understanding the whole context. But if you sit and go through that dialogue, therefore, as that conversation is what is many times heals many things. That's another topic of how do we make the child and why do we understand the children, and then when there is a need to be understood in all of us, and children have the most. So when they feel that ये मुझे समझता ही नहीं है, तो they stop the conversation there. But when they start to see that the parents echo my feelings, they may not echo my thoughts, but they do understand कि ये गुस्सा है, oh you are so angry. So and of course there are some ways by which you can have dialogue. वो सब है, there are a lot of books about that. But essential principle is that वो बच्चे सुनते नहीं है क्योंकि उनको लगता है हम समझते नहीं हम उनको, और जब हम उनको लगता है हम उनको समझते नहीं तो हमसे बात करना बंद कर देते. Therefore, they should get the feeling that we understand. Whether we approve it or not, that is different. But they should feel that they understood this. Okay. Any other thought? So a child wants to like Ayan wants to play football, but you kind of saying नहीं इसमें कुछ future नहीं है, वो नहीं है. They don't like philosophy. They want to have a dialogue. They want them to be with you for a while. So, of course, as I said, this is just our first session. When we have more sessions, we can take each different topic like this. बच्चे सुनते नहीं हैं, how do we take more? But just first, the premise is let's be careful of what style are we going into, and better we use the right style of parenting. That's okay, we are almost done.
अतुल उनको फ्री टाइम होता है ना वर्कर्स को.
We're almost done. My slides are over. I just prepared a few slides. Okay. Yes. Yes, please. Any questions? Yeah. Please, we can converse.
Just one question, not question, but any tips that you can give for a budding teenager now? In that age, it's very different. They want to do. They think that they are becoming into that age where they are whatever they're doing is right, and then getting in saying that this is not correct. Even if you want to be as a friend, it's not same. So how do you think we should address this?
Especially teenagers need a third parent.
That's also true. Given that as a weak parent, how maybe it is calm, being patient, being consistent, we can still try, but at the same time, there's much more to this.
Yeah. They need to have someone apart from the parents, because they stay so close to them, so they kind of feel they can't fully express everything. So, but obviously, not everyone will have that kind of connection. But just seeing whom do they listen to, whom do they kind of reveal, or can I be that person? Can I be a different person now? That they start to. So, because we have to also be as per for the child's benefit, and give that assurance that I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to just preach to you. And knowing that each soul comes with their own baggage. That's why spiritual understanding helps with every aspect of our life, including parenting. That just because they are born to you doesn't mean that some traits will be there, but ultimately the karma is the most powerful factor in each one's growth. There are three triggers for anyone's growth. One is upbringing, that's by parents. Another is friend circle, the association. And the third is the past karma, the baggage which they are born. That's why one kid loves music, another kid loves mud. So it's different. So two aspects we can definitely play: upbringing and also what kind of friend circle they move in, and ensuring that the friend circle that is good. So, and just advise them that have these kinds of friends that are also equally academic oriented, at the same time values are there, and having that kind of friendship with their parents, then these children will feel more connected to that family. So having that kind of parents gatherings where there is a common value system, so then the children also start to bind more in that circle. As I said, parenting is one of the most difficult tasks, responsibilities, but scripture said it is one of the greatest responsibilities that a human being can do. After his responsibility towards God is to a soul that has come to our shelter, to guide him properly. And they also alarm you that if you don't do properly, then there will be repercussions in the and in your future, that you have to take your dependents to the path of liberation, that they get spiritually evolved and then they grow in their spiritual journey, not just go back in their spiritual journey. So that's the most important task. And all these are things by which they actually, because it is said the only experience of love of God, Bhagwan ka prem, that a child can experience is from the parents. Selfless love jo hota hai na, that only a mother and father can make the child experience. And when they experience that, and when the parents show that their allegiance, their devotion is cause of this selfless love, then they will naturally connect to that. But if they don't experience selfless love, if they see manipulation, if they see inconsistency, then they will never connect to our path, the path that we are taking. So we'll conclude for today. I am extremely grateful to all of you for taking your time to listen to the story of Dhruva from the parenting angle. Story of Dhruva has many angles which you can hear. This is one of the angles. Like this, Bhagavatam has multiple stories, and I have put here these stories that one of our devotees has written in a with graphics. I personally used to read a lot of these stories in my childhood. That's one of my good samskaras that I have. Because these stories, as they are entertaining, as all these Superman stories are there, same time they have a lot of lessons, values in it that subconsciously going. So therefore telling stories is a very nice way to imbibe values. स्टोरी बताएंगे, स्टोरी के साथ उनको लेसन भी मिल जाए. So if you can go through this, take these books right here or at our temple. There is a huge collection of these stories. Hare Krishna. So you'll all go up for lunch at Atul's house.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for moving the time. Thank you, like you said, to everyone. And thank you, Ananta, Jyotsna.
Thank you to all of
We've been
you
putting
to arrange this.
some efforts behind the scenes to organize this. So thank you so much. Of course, thank you, Suparna, so much for coming. Thank you, all of you also. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we get
This was
more
a
of
great
this.
initiation, at least for me, because it's my first parenting or spiritual conversation. Good thoughts to kind of take back, and because we've all grown up, I think, without like you said, a parent learns with experience, and it's always good to have this kind of a conversation and learnings to correct ourselves, because I think it's very important. And like I said, the purpose of bringing your child into this world is to elevate his and make him enlightened, and I think I didn't know about that. So that's a great plan. Thank you so much.
So you did find it was value add for you?
Absolutely,
Oh,
it was a great value add for me, and I'll be happy to kind of get more of these workshops and be part of them.
As I said, this is just a start.
Yeah.
We want to do more.
I would love
Whenever
to
you
do
get a
it.
chance to speak to anyone who you think might
I will do that.
Benefit from this as well.
No, I think
Then
every
please.
individual
That's what we thought.
knowledge is good for everyone, and it's very, very
Most
helpful.
people need to be reminded
Absolutely.
reminded of the good things.
We have
Subconsciously we know, but we just when we speak about it, it becomes important.
Yeah, correct.
So Ananta has very kindly organized prasad for everyone. So please,
Nice.
thank you. Please come.
Can I just see you?
Yes, please.
Which one would you
suggest book one for just to get an initiation 8.
This is the book. There's the story of Dhruva also.
This one. And how are these different? The Gita is
This is more from the Gita, some of the Gita wisdom tales. Each one is good.
Yeah.
It has
One number
a
eight.
combination of all
Okay. Alright.
Yes.
Everybody else is interested, but I have to take these two books.
మీ అందరు చెప్పడానికి ఇక్కడ దాకా అందరికి చెప్పడానికి ఇక్కడ దాకా రప్పించిన అయిపోయింది
The book is there.
Yes.